Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about how you're going to have to do things differently if you want to have success. I was talking with someone about success and they were saying, well, I know I want to try, but it seems so hard. And I was explaining to them how it's basically following what everybody else is doing, which is a path most people get on. Now there's variations here and there, but basically you're like a train on tracks. So the only thing you can do is go forward or backward. You can't really veer off the tracks. You're on those tracks. You have to make the choice to get off the tracks completely. And if you look around, you see what everybody else is doing. That's probably not what you should be doing. There are some basic universal things that everyone should be doing, but the business practices, the discipline practices, all these things are probably not what you should be following because they are mediocre at best. And so, for example, if you're living for the weekend, if you're planning vacations and all these things, listen, there's an old saying that pay the price now so you can pay any price later. The point being, you make some sacrifices now to get yourself on the path to success and wealth and riches and honor. So then later in life, you could do anything you want because you've built that foundation of income and wealth and success. But what most people do is they give up any hope for success and they just go with these temporal, tiny little fixes. So they get a tax refund, then they go out and spend it. They save money all year long, not to invest in a business, not to invest in something, but to go on vacation. And this process repeats itself over and over and over again until they die. Except by the time they get to their death, they've been sick for years, they're in and out of doctor's offices all the time, they barely have any money, they've built no success, nothing lasting in life, and then their children are repeating that same process of failure, mediocrity, and the bare minimum, scraping by. And this applies to you if you think you're in the middle class, you think you're doing somehow great. No, you're still on that track. You still haven't woken up and realized that you're following a pre-programmed path that can only lead to mediocrity. That's the best. That is your peak potential. Not success, mediocrity. Now, some people might pat you on the back. Oh, well, you can go on vacation once a year and you got 2 cars in your drive. Oh, everything's great. Because that's mediocrity. And for them, that is great. But I'm talking about real success and how you're going to have to do things differently. Most people blindly follow the programming they got from early childhood from the people they saw around them, whether it was their mother, their father, uncles, brothers and sisters. Their financial habits, their work ethic, their behavior and their relationship to success and diligence, all that was framed then. And now they are just on that track and they have never even considered venturing off of it. Now, they'll do things like they'll make New Year's resolutions. They'll talk about, well, I'm trying to do this, or I'm going to make some new successful habits. But none of it ever sticks because they haven't done the basic thing of getting off that track. So they'll make a few little changes here and there, thinking that's going to make some radical change in their life and bring them to great success. But they see because they're going forward, that means somehow they're getting close to success. No, you're still on that track to mediocrity that the vast majority are on. Now, there's various levels of it. Some people are obviously way poorer than others. But it's all ending up in mediocrity, failure, misery, illness, all kinds of problems. What I want to encourage you today to do is to look around at your habits. Look around at the things you do each day, from what you eat, to how you dress, to how you present yourself to people, to what you say to people when you greet them, and really examine and see why you're doing these things and what could be changed that would push you further to success. And you'd be surprised how those little things can make big differences. But we're not talking about just trying something out. We're talking about actually making a change and sticking with it. But this is going to apply to a lot of things. So if you're one of those people that when it comes time to end your job, you're already wrapping up before the day is ended, and you've already stopped being productive the last hour or 30 minutes of the day, maybe you need to change that. Maybe you need to be productive up to the last second, and then when it's time for you to go, then you start wrapping up. Now you may say, well, why? I'm only getting paid for this. But that's the mentality. If you talk about what you're only getting paid for, if you talk about what you're supposed to do more. Take on more responsibility. Don't worry about if they're not going to pay you more. Just take on more responsibility, because eventually you'll become valuable and then they'll pay you more. Wherever I worked when I used to work for people, I always was more valuable than 2 or 3 or 4, sometimes 10 people, because of the amount of effort and smart, intelligent, hard work I would put in. From my earliest days of working as a fast food cook, and I could be left alone in the kitchen by myself, running all the appliances, cooking all the food, and yet when I wasn't there, they would need 3 or 4 people in that kitchen to do the same job. But looking back on it is very plain. These other people could have done a very good job. They just didn't care. But see, that it may not pay off at that particular job, but that pays off in dividends later in life. Because when you instill yourself that work ethic and that desire for hard work and intelligent work, not just intelligent work, people always want to talk about that, but you got to work hard. I don't know anyone that has great success that wasn't working very hard. That doesn't mean they did things inefficiently or ineffectively and did things stupidly. They did things very intelligently as well, but they also worked very hard. You have to look at what you're doing each and every day and truly examine it. Now, I'll get people for coaching and I'll tell them to do this. I'll tell them to write down literally everything you did today. Every time you went to the bathroom, I don't care. Every time you looked at a newspaper, every time you checked your email, write down every single thing you do. Because as with so many things in life, when people self-report what they think they did, instead of actually writing it down as they do it, they have these ideas and fantasies of their lives being more productive and them doing more than they really were. But then you see it all written down, and you know this is true because you wrote it down every time as you were doing it. It becomes readily apparent for most people that the vast majority of their day is spent in frivolity, time wasting, checking social media, checking emails, doing things that don't provide any value for their lives, don't improve their lives at all, don't push them further to success. They're just wasting time. And when you can come to that realization and then start making changes, and it's going to be hard, like that train on the track example, because that train has to get off the track, which means it's got to become something different. You can't put the train on a regular road. It's going nowhere. It's going to just dig itself into the road. It needs that track. You have to become someone better than that train on the track going one direction that is pre-programmed to early in childhood. You're going to make massive changes, and it's going to be difficult at times. But that's all right. You don't want to be like all the rest of the people who throughout history have been mediocre, who haven't done much, whose lives were just boring, quite frankly pointless. They didn't do anything. They never accomplished anything. You could put a number on them and apply it to a billion other people, and their lives are basically identical because there's nothing going on. That doesn't mean they don't have value as people. Of course they do. But they didn't do anything with their value. They didn't do anything with that God-given intelligence and spirit that they had within them. They just fell in line and did what everybody else does. And my friend, that can't be you. You must become a great success. You must use your talents, your skills, your abilities to the greatest glory for God. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.